Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob, and today we'll be jumping into malicious compliance. Before we start, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you know when the next video goes live. Our first story today comes to us from username Tim. My boss used me for malicious compliance 5 years ago, and I just figured it out. Let's jump right in. About 5 years ago, I was the office guy for a small lumber mill. My direct supervisor was the general manager, but the owner was also pretty hands-on. The mill wasn't generating as much profit as the owner believed it could. He was probably right. The guy was smart as a whip with 60 plus years of experience. One of the things the owner tried to do was hire an outside consultant to try and find ways we could safely increase productivity or cut expenses. The guy had owned and operated his own mill and also had a ludicrous amount of experience. One of the things the consultant had been pushing for was running the mill into overtime. He thought we could increase productivity without incurring more expense than we gained. My boss asked me to run an analysis of how much we would gain or lose if we ran overtime. I did the math and gave him the results. Even in the best case, every minute of overtime would result in a net loss to the company. This report had taken me several hours, as I wanted to be sure I gave him the right answer. My boss took it, nodded, and the next day announced we would be running the mill in overtime. 2 weeks later, when I prepared the end of the month financial statements, it showed a large loss. I was quietly seething, since I felt like I had been asked a pointless question, my time wasted, and my input ignored. But looking back on it with significantly more experience, I think I know what happened. I think my boss was bothered by the consultant who had come in to tell him how to do his job and then given him bad advice. The owner wouldn't listen to my boss telling him he didn't need a consultant, so he did exactly what the consultant suggested and let the owner judge for himself. As far as my report went, I think he just wanted to be sure it wouldn't cost us too much when he pulled the trigger. Tom, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I was resentful about the whole affair for the past 5 years. My bad. As mentioned by another Redditor in the comment section, there's a serious life lesson here that I learned a little too late. Your boss has a boss. They have conversations you don't know about. The question is though, if OP was able to prove on paper that this wasn't going to work and it was going to cost them money, how come the consultant didn't come to that same conclusion? Our second story today comes to us from Informal Wish. I'll take my time away. Thanks. Let's jump right in. I work in university housing. Running dorms on a campus is a seriously emotionally manipulative job that really plays up the "we're a family" rhetoric to guilt employees to investing wild amounts of time, energy, and money into this work. To avoid burnout, one must take time away, but it has to be away, as in not just staying home, because we live where we work. Our apartments are inside the buildings we run, so if we stay home, we still haven't left work. You've got to go somewhere else to really have some separation. But we get lots of guilt to avoid us taking that time away from campus. In recent months, taking time away has been made more and more complex by our supervisors. It used to be a request form that was either approved or denied the next day, and approval was almost guaranteed. Now, you submit a request form that must wait until the following Monday so it can be discussed in a closed meeting. If you want more than 1 day off, your request is approved, it is considered conditional, and you must submit a written plan for what your staff will be doing while you're gone, a draft of your out-of-office email, written confirmation that another employee will babysit your buildings while you're gone, and a copy of preparation materials given to that person. To be clear, our areas absolutely do not need babysitters. It's a circus with the hopes that there will be so many hoops to jump through, we might give up on taking our time away. Not me, I'll jump. I've earned my time off and I'll be using it. Thanks. I have a long distance partner that I visit for 3 to 4 days every 6 weeks or so. He can't take time off like I can, as he's self-employed, and if he doesn't go to work, he doesn't get paid. So when I visit, he goes to work when he needs to, and I usually spend my day visiting with a longtime friend that lives nearby or taking his dog on day-long adventures. But all the work I do at my job right now can be accomplished remotely. I want to take off 4 days for my next visit. I asked my boss if I could just request the time I'd actually be traveling as PTO, and then work remotely on the other weekdays and partial days during my trip. I thought this might be okay. as it would keep me occupied and I could keep up with committee meetings, student meetings, and project timelines. My boss has never said so out loud, but I know she isn't happy with me for taking regular time off. It's been setting an example to the rest of my colleagues who have also started taking more time off, which they should 100% be doing. Our department still runs smoothly and my buildings are the best managed on campus. She's just upset that I'm not being guilted appropriately to stay here all the time and keep working. My boss told me that she would not approve me to work remotely as I had to be on campus to do my job. Mind you, during that meeting, I was dealing with a cold and had been approved to work from home. I asked her why that was different than working from my partner's office. She told me that because I lived on campus, I could still be called upon to respond to an emergency if needed. I asked her if I ever would be called on to respond to an emergency, as I am in quarantine for illness and I am not our designated emergency on-call person. She told me her decision was final. If I still only wanted to take 2 days off, I could shorten my trip. I told her, no, that's fine, I just won't work at all for those 4 days. Clearly, this was not what she thought would happen. She replied that even though I would need to take PTO if I was off campus, I would still be more than welcome to attend committee and student meetings during my vacation. I told her, no thank you. If I have to take PTO, then I will not be working during that time. Thank you for answering my questions though. She's been giving me the stink eye for the past week. I wish I felt sorry for her, but if you're going to make rules, you should be prepared for the possible outcome that people might just follow them. Wow, they really need to understand that if they want something, they have to pay for it. They've been essentially getting free work from you and everyone else. PTO means paid time off, not paid time on. That's just called work. Our next story comes to us from Jane the Brain 1298. I took it all. Let's jump right in. My boyfriend and I broke up a few months ago, but there have been complications with the apartment because we are both on the lease and blah blah blah. But I found a new place to live and moved out last weekend. I got the important stuff out, but there were still a few small boxes left and I didn't go through the kitchen because I didn't know what my new roommate had. My ex helped me move and everything was going very well and we were being cordial. Well, last night my ex asked me to come over to pick up a few of the small boxes that were in the closet and to say hi to his dog who was sad that I was gone. So I go over there, we are hanging out, I play with his dog, everything is good. Then I asked him if he minded if I took the dish brush because my new house didn't have one. I asked because I bought this dish brush just a couple weeks ago and I even splurged on a nicer one, like $5. Side note, I am the only person in our relationship who ever bought household items like this. I just moved into a new place where the rent is higher. I've had to pay for a moving truck and all the other little things associated with moving somewhere new. The last thing I want to do is go to the store and drop another $50 or so buying a bunch of little things I literally just bought a couple weeks ago. Apparently, asking for the dish brush triggered him, and he made the ridiculous dictate at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, mind you, that I could take anything I think that's mine tonight, but anything that was there when I left that night would be his property now. I, annoyed, said no, that I don't agree to this. I immediately said the dish brush was not a big deal. I told him that I did not come prepared with boxes, bags, etc. to get everything I wanted from the kitchen. I said I could do this tomorrow or any other day of his choosing. I begged him to compromise. I told him I wouldn't take the dish brush or anything that he said he wanted. However, he only tripled down and refused to budge from his ridiculous demand. So I became very irate. I told him that if he was going to make me move all my dishes out in plastic trash bags tonight, that I was going to take every last thing that was mine. Again, I am the only person who ever bought anything like pots, spices, utensils, cleaning supplies, etc. I was planning on leaving most of it with him because my new roommate already has a lot of this stuff, but I decided that if he was going to make such a ridiculous rule, then I would take it all. I took the dish brush, the sponges, used and unused, all my spices, the soap, the utensils, all the pots, the Tupperware, the toothpicks, the toilet paper, the pillows, the wall hooks, the coat hangers. I even took the light bulbs. I took it all. Did I yell? Yes. Was I petty? Absolutely. But I think this is quite petty to make a demand on the spot. that everything I don't take tonight becomes his when this was not the pretense under which I came over, and I was obviously not prepared. Well, OP, I think you should have a garage sale and then send them a text saying they can come over and purchase back whatever they need. In the comment section for this story, there's another story by Maxine that says, I found out an ex was cheating and moved out while he was at work. Let's jump right in. I found out he was cheating with like 3 months left on our lease. We decided he'd move into the second bedroom, what we were using as an office, and his new girlfriend wouldn't be allowed over until our lease was up. That lasted a whole week. I told him since she's not on the lease, she can't stay at our place. He argued he'd just take me off the lease as a threat because I have a fear of being homeless from childhood. I called his bluff and he did it the next day. Unbeknownst to him, I had actually preemptively been looking at new places closer to my school so I could give up my car. I had been looking with some friends. We found a super affordable house that was ready sooner than I thought we needed, but I called the guy and he approved the 3 of us and we got the keys. So a couple of days of being taken off the lease, I started my move. Moved all my bedroom stuff out first so he didn't notice. Then the second day while he was at work, my friends and I took everything. I was actually too naive to do it. One of my friends just started packing up things I was going to leave. One of our last arguments was that I should pay for more of the toilet paper because I'm a girl. He made $80,000 a year and I was going to community college and living on savings, and everything was 50-50 because I had cats and I was young and didn't know better. Even though all of the furniture was mine, he didn't like to clean and ate frozen meals or off paper plates. So I had to pay for 100% of cleaning supplies too and do all of the cleaning. To not deal with arguments, I just bought all the toilet paper too. She ripped the shower curtain down even though our new place had glass doors in the bath, rolled the toilet paper off the wall holder and took it, put the sink sponge in a Ziploc. Literally the only thing left was his computer and desk, his clothes in a pile. I bought the hangers, the guest bed and guest dresser, and 1 mug. Also, the girl he cheated on me with and moved into the apartment was banging her meth dealer and using my ex as a gravy train for her and her dealer. He paid all of her bills and came over on my birthday a couple of months later to drop off my mail, gloat how she cooks and cleans without fights. About 6 months later, he calls me freaking out. She stole all of his new furniture and emptied his bank account. Look at God. I'm kind of stuck on this one because you can't just take somebody else off a lease without them signing for it. I mean, you at least can't do that where I live. Our last story today comes to us from Sammy Hammy, entitled Woman at Pool Gets Some Sweet Revenge. Let's jump right in. This happened in late July of 2019. Me, 17 female, and my family, what I call my family and parents' friends' family that I grew up with, were at a pool on a super hot day. It was midday and the pool was packed. For some background, we were at a campground with 2 pools, so the pool I was in was filled with older kids and adults, while the other pool was for younger kids and toddlers. The larger pool had been crowded by multiple families, and all the tables near the pool were filled. I had been floating on a pool tube in the pool, watching my younger friends play around me, and casually listening to my parents and their friends' conversations. I was just vibing when I noticed some commotion coming from my left side. I saw maybe 6 boys aging from 10 to 14 playing with the water basketball set, the ones where you shoot from inside the pool. They were just being kids, and every once in a while the ball would roll away from the pool. One of them would jump out to get the ball. It just so happened that the ball had rolled in the direction of our entitled parent. Entitled parent was with her 3 under the age of 10 kids. She started yelling at the boys. It's been a while since this happened, but I'll try to be as accurate as possible. Hey, quit playing so rough around my kids. You're making too much noise and getting my stuff all wet from your splashing, etc. She went on this rant for a while, yelling at the boys for playing in the pool. She cried about how her baby was getting splashed and how rude the boys were. At this point, the boys had all stopped to watch her in shock. I saw one of the younger boys look like he was about to cry. This is when I stepped or floated in. Excuse me, ma'am. Her gaze turned to me, and if looks could kill, I would have combusted then and there. What? The boys are just playing. Let them be. Your kids are nowhere near them and aren't bothered at all. This is the camp pool. Let the kids play. Leave them alone. Did I mention her own kids were on the other side of the pool splashing each other? She got red in the face and grumbled at me to shut up, but didn't really do much. The boys thanked me and I thought the incident was over. Or so I thought. About 5 minutes later, I saw her still glaring at me, but I did my best to ignore her. I saw her skirt and walk over to her kids. She whispered something to them. They got super excited and started to run at me. I was slightly confused until I realized they weren't stopping. They ran at me and launched themselves into the pool to splash me. Now, I have glasses and am pretty much blind without them, so I wear them into the pool with me if I'm just floating like I was that day. Once I cleared the water from my glasses, I saw the kids giggling in the water, running to the ladder, and the entitled parent just giving me a smug grin. Then I had an idea. I grinned right back at her, then turned to her kids with a laugh and said with a smile, "Is that the best you got? I barely noticed any splash. Hit me again." The kids lit up with joy and quickly scrambled out of the pool and tried to splash me again. Each time I would laugh and encourage them to try again. This quickly turned into all the kids in my area trying their hardest to make the biggest splash and me ranking each splash. I will cherish the face the entitled parent gave me when she realized her plan of messing with me completely backfired and how she couldn't stop what was happening without upsetting her kids. It was glorious. Does anybody else think she should have turned to those kids and said, "Hey, bet you can't get your mom wet from here"? The look on entitled mother's face must have been priceless, though. I wish I'd seen it myself. Thank you to all 4 OPs for posting their stories in the Malicious Compliance subreddit. They are linked in the description down below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.